So you have your empty application right now and you want to teach your application how to add numbers like 1 plus 1 or 2, anything, right? So for that you can create a function that can add numbers, but let's be honest over here. If you wanted to build an application, you need to know how to use classes and what is the classes which have many members and what are the properties of the class. So basically we are going to learn all of that. So for that, what we wanted to do is we have a class over here and this class name is called max. And over here we have one functionality is called 1 plus 1. So whenever you provide an initial value, it will multiply that number, it will add that number, and we have another functionalities to divide the number, we have another functionality to get the root of the number. So we have many functionalities over here. So now we wanted to access this class into our application. How you can do that? Just simply we wanted to import our library where we can call this class. By importing this library, now we have got this entire class. So now we can use this functionality which we have right over here. This is the reason we use classes, in order to get the properties of the class, members of the class, and instance of the classes. So if it is a bit of a confusing for you to understand, so I'll just mark it out for you guys to understand it better. This is the library that you have imported. Now by importing this library, you got this class. In over here you have one functionality which does like multiply the number by 2 or something like that. Okay, so if this functionality right over here is part of any class, we call that a method. If this thing is not part of any class, if it's a function that has been created outside a class or any class, it's not part of any class, we call that a function. So basically method and function have this two meanings into it. So this is your library and this is a class that you have got by importing this library, and now you got this method that you are using right now. If that method is not part of any class or not residing in any class, this is what we call a function. So basically you get it, what is a function and what is a method. We have this functionality over here. We will have some properties like your name could be a property in a class, or your ID number could be a property in the class. So for that, when we have multiple values such as function is a different thing, method is a different thing, and members is a different thing. So we call that whenever we have like 2 properties and 3 functions, we call that members of a class. You understand what is a member of a class? So we have 5 members over here. So what are the properties? All the things which we have right over here, we call that this is the properties of the class. So let me give you one example. So you have a pic that you have just taken from your phone. So now what you wanted to do is that you wanted to edit that picture. So you wanted to keep the original picture separately, right? So now we have some ID number and name over here. So now what we wanted to do is that we wanted to provide this value onto this class, but we do not wanted to change this class. We wanted to keep it original. So for that, we have to create an object of this class. So how do we create an object of this class? So first we are going to go provide the class name along with parentheses, just like over here, and end the statement with a semicolon. Now we wanted to say that, hey, I wanted to create a new object of this class. For that, we are going to name our class whatever you wanted to name your class, because you wanted to give it a nickname, and we have to give it a data type value which is variable right over here. So now you have created a now you have instantiated a new class which you can store the data into that particular object that you have created. So now what we wanted to do is that we wanted to access one of this properties. So we'll say that, hey, this is the instance of this class. Now I wanted to use this instance of this class. So this is basically what instance and instantiated means. So you have got what is an object. You have created the object. Now you have the separate file that you wanted to use. So what is a higher order function? So now we have one function which adds like numbers like 1 plus 1 or 1 plus 2 or something like that. We have this function right over here. So after that, we wanted to create another function, and now we have 2 functions in a single function. So that is what we call higher order function. A function which takes another function as a parameter. This is what we call a higher order function. So now you have this max class right now, and you have some logging functionality which is a different class. So what you wanted to do is that you wanted to say, I just wanted to use the sign up function in this class, and I wanted to have this multiply function. I wanted to use this method in a class. So you don't wanted to populate your application by importing every single class. So for that, what you have decided to do is that you wanted to create a new file where you have like 4 different classes and the application and the methods that you only wanted to use. So you have combined all of those classes, and now you have created your own class. So now whenever you wanted to access that functionalities, you can just go ahead and directly call your own class that you have made a mixture of all of these classes. So, or you can just create your own class which have the functionality that you wanted to use. So basically you have a lot of classes. We have one class for design, you have one class for max, you have one class for login functionality and all that. So you can have as many classes that as you wanted to have. So now we are going to talk about what is a public class and what is a private class. We have this class over here. As you can see, this is a member. This is not just think that this is a member of this class, like this is an ID value. When you see that it doesn't have any sort of an underscore before that, so you know that this is a public class that you can access anywhere around your application. You can just call up this function, you can call up this property and use it anywhere in your application. But when you see this, you have underscore before the name, you know that this is a private member. So you can only access this private member whenever you wanted to limit off a particular task in your application. So you say that you have one login functionality and login file in your application. You wanted to say that, hey, I just wanted to use this private class in this login functionality only. I do not wanted to use this class anywhere else. So this is what basically a public class and private class is. So whenever you see underscore before ID value or a member, you know that this is a private member or a private property of a class. So now that's out of the way. What we wanted to do is that we wanted to know what is object-oriented programming language. So you see over here, we have this library, we have this class, we have this method, we have this members, properties, and all of these things, and higher order function and variables and many things. So everything over here that you see, it's an object. That is what we call object-oriented programming language. You have said that, hey, I have successfully created my object. Now I wanted to access all of this functionality which this class right over here have. So for that, you wanted to use the class name. So you have given it a nickname right over here. So you have to type this nickname, and after that, you can just simply go ahead and use a dot on the keyboard in order to access all of its functionalities, all of its methods and instance of this class whenever you wanted to use the class. So we are going to move towards the course. So this is a brief example why we use library, classes, methods and all that.